Hello, Julie here and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to do a project that I saw over on Crafty Landings, and it's part of the Best of British Junk Journal collaboration being run by RachandBella Crafts. So I saw Mari made some tags with a shaker using some tulle, so that's what I'm going to do. I have done a bit of prep. I've got my images and I have created two cards. I've got cardboard and then I've put pattern paper on one side, coffee dyed paper on the other. They're my tag bases. I just have to cut the corners. So let's see, about that size I think. Maybe a little bigger, that one. So these are quite sturdy. I like my tags to be sturdy. I want them to be, able to hold their shape and not flop about when you're trying to put them into a pocket. So you can make your tags any size, whatever size suits you best. I've made mine 3.5 inches by 6.5 inches, and I think that will fit nicely into a pocket. Now I have also cut out these two images, and I'm going to back these onto this pale, well it's just thick paper really. You can see here my printer had a hissy fit. I don't know what all that gobbledygook meant, but I just turned my printer off and my computer off and then restarted them and then reprinted it, and it printed perfectly. So I don't know where all of that came from. It printed perfectly like 5 minutes beforehand when I printed the background sheets that I wanted to put on my tags. These sheets, those, printed perfectly for those, and then a couple of minutes later when I did this, didn't like it. So I'm just doing a really fine border around that. It just helps to separate it from the background. Let's trim that off before I stick the next one on, because the next one's not the same size. Let's try and make this nice, about the same all over, about there. Now we'll take it all the way down, then the same here. Out that. Yeah, so that's one, and now I'm going to do the same for this image. So these images are printed on 120 GSM cardstock, or paper really, 120 GSM still paper, and yeah, by backing them onto this paper it's making them even a little bit stiffer still, but I want them reasonably rigid because I'm going to be stitching on these shortly. Does that fit that way? Yeah. I want that about the same. Very small border. This one actually, this image is a bit wider than the other one, so it's quite a tight fit on the tag. Overflow there. So now we can trim this one up. So this is quite a quick process actually once you've got your basics done. So you want an image, you're going to put your tulle over this and your sequins or whatever you're going to put in your shaker. Now you can put whatever you like in your shaker. See, that only just fits on there, but that's fine, that's fine. Okay, now I've got some tulle here, just plain tulle, nothing fancy about that, and you have to have your tulle bigger of course than your image. So now what I need to do is take these and the tulle to my sewing machine and stitch around. So I'm going to just trim this tulle down. Let me get a pair of scissors so that I've got some. Oh, I don't want to cut fabric. Let's try these. Now you don't have to worry about the size at this stage. We will trim it down. I'm just cutting it now to make it easier to handle with my sewing machine. Okay, so now I'm going to go and take this and I'm going to stitch down, across and up, and the same for this one. Trying to make sure that I keep my tulle nice and firm. I don't want it to be wrinkly or loose. So there we go. Hopefully you can see that I have stitched that mesh on there. You can see the stitching on the back. And I should furnish that down. I always like to press my stitching down. You're not going to see it, but it just makes it easier for it to stick. Now, what I need to do now is add my shaker elements, and I'm going to use these gold, what are they? Premium Sequence Golden. They're from my scrapbooking days. So let's see if we can get them in there without making a big mess. Can get little funnels and all that sort of thing for doing this sort of thing with, but I'm just going to try tipping them in. So I haven't stitched across the top, and you can see there's a bit of a gap there. So I'm going to just sort of bend that back a little bit so that I've got the gap like that, and I'm going to try tipping them in. They'll probably go everywhere. As a matter of fact, I think they will go everywhere. So let me try just putting them in by hand. You don't need a lot in there. That's probably enough. Yep. And put some in this one. So there's an assortment of things in there. There's star shapes and circle shapes and all sorts of things. So let's put a pinch of sequins into our shaker. Okay. Yep. So now I'm going to go back to my sewing machine and stitch up across the tops and close them in there so that they can't escape. Okay, so I've stitched all around those now, and my sequins are firmly encased in there, so I don't have to worry about them escaping. Now I'm going to trim my tulle back to the edge of this paper. I have seen these shaker tags before, but yeah, it was a nice reminder, and seeing as how I'm doing Christmas journals, I thought that You know, that nice little bit of glitzy stuff might be in order. Plus, I'm always looking for tag ideas because we're always trying to add tags somewhere in our journals, aren't we? Rightio, so that's that one trimmed down. Do the same for this one. Now, what image do I want on what tag? I think I'll go with that way. Now I'm going to, what am I going to do next? I'm going to add some lace. So I want, oh no, I might attach my things next. My shaker elements, I'm going to now attach them to the tags. I'm just using my glue, liquid glue, to do that. You can use your hot glue gun or whatever your preferred method of attaching things are. I'll rink around this one. Okay, now let's attach this one. Okay, now we're going to add a little bit of lace to the bottom. And the same over this one. And we will trim that up. Ouch. Okay. Now we're going to put a eyelet in here. Okay, I've inked around the fronts and the backs of both of those tags now. Now I want to make some little tags to go on here, and I'm going to use this copy guide paper, but I want it thicker, so I'm going to fold it in halves and like glue it together so that there is a double layer of paper. Just fold that over. Do the same for this piece as well. I don't know how many tags I want to make, probably 3. Of varying sizes, so there we go. Now they can dry while I'm doing my eyelets. I'm going to do gold eyelets, of course. I thought I was running short on gold ones, but they're under there. And I'm going to put the rings on the back. These just make the back so much neater. Okay. Let's make our holes. I'm not measuring it, but I'm hoping to get somewhere near the middle. Okay, about there. Now let's pop the eyelet in and the ring at the back and get our cruncher thing. Now I do have a bit of trouble squeezing these together. Yeah, that's not squeezed properly yet. It's better. Now we'll do this one. That one went down a bit better. Okay, so there we have that. Now I've got this ribbon that I've been using in this journal, so I'll go with that again. I like to double it over because it is very thin, like it is see-through. Let me get my tweezers. I can poke that through. Oh. Fiddly. Let's get that folded again. Poke that through there. Grab a hold of it. And then find the centre. I've got the equal sides and then poke that through. It's a bit fiddly when you're doing double layer, but worth it in the end because you get a much nicer feel to your tag. There we go, and then we can just cut that off. I may well shorten those anyway. So let's do the same for this side. When you're doing double layer like this, you need to pull each one to make sure that it's nice and sturdy. Then we can chop that one. Right, so now I want to make some tags to go on there, some little tags. Oh, I've got two to make, haven't I? So let's cut this one just in halves like that. Snip the tops off like to make a little tag shape. going to ink around those. Now you will probably want to put something on these tags, like you know, a little image or something like that. I don't think I've got anything that small at the moment, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach these to my tags, and then I'll have a look and try and find some Christmas images that I can put on there. Let me get my trimmer for this one because I'm not good with the scissors. Yeah, with the scissors. So let's straighten that up first. Make sure we've got it nice and square. And then let's do, I'll cut the bottom. Now I want let's 3/4 of an inch, so let's go for 1 1/4 inches. 1 1/4 inches. Then we might just cut this one in halves. How big is it? 2 inches. So we end up with 2 tiny ones. So that will give us an assortment of size little tiny tags that we can put onto our, let's cut the little corners off. Normally I would, you know, turn it over and lay it on, but because these are so small, I don't think I'm going to bother with that. Okay. So I have to ink around all of these, so I'll just fast forward over that. I did have a look through my fussy cuts to see if there was anything that would fit on here, and I've got this little bauble that will fit on there, but I've only got one of those. Now before I stick that down, I want to just draw a string going up to there. And then I'll stick this down. Like so. And I've got these tiny bows that are in the kit, so I thought I might attach one of these to each of those middle-sized tags. They may hang over a bit, but that won't matter. Just on the bottom like that. And this one. As I said, the others I'll go hunting around and find something to put on them, but I'll do that after. Okay, they can stick on there. So I just need some little small things. I suppose I could have stuck some sequins on one or two. Anyway, I don't know. I don't trust the sequins to stay on there if you just stick them on individually. If you put them in something like that, yes, but yeah. Now I'm going to use this hole punch to put little holes in our tags. Try and line them up somewhat centrally. So this hole punch just makes a little hole, which is exactly what we want. And about there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, I've got a bulb pin here and I only got one out, so that was a bit silly of me. I'm going to put that on there, then that on there, then that one on there, and then I can do the other way. I think it's easier if I put it through there first and then put the tags on. Fiddly. And do that up, and then I can pull that down like so. We'll have our little tag decorations there. I do need to trim these down a bit. I think they're too long. Like that, and there we go. That will look nicer when I put something extra on that front little tag. Now let me just grab another bulb pin. There we go. Now I will add something to these little tiny tags before I take the photos, so if you have a look at the photos you'll be able to see the finished tiny tags. I might stamp on them, or I'm not sure what I'll do with them yet, but we will soon find out. Okay, let's move that down into the bulb part. Do that down like that, and that like that. So there we go, that's our little project for today. Nice little shaker tags. They do move in there. Quite cute. So, as I said, this was something I saw Mari do over at Crafty Landing, and it's part of the Best of British Junk Journal collaboration that RachandBella are running at the moment. So yeah, I'll put a link to Mari's video in the bottom, in the description box, and with that collaboration they were paired up with another creator, and Mari was paired up with Yvonne Preston, so she got this idea from Yvonne's channel. So yeah, alright, well thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you can join me when I post my next video. Okay, bye.